How's it going, everyone? My name is Jake, and today I want to address a topic that has come up recently in conversation with a few other music producers, engineers, and subscribers. The question of the day is, should you mix in mono? So first of all, why would we even think that this is a good thing to do in general? I mean, there's more sonic information with stereo, right? Surprisingly, there are quite a few reasons that mixing in mono can greatly help the quality of your finished mix. And I will say right from the beginning, it is something you should add into your mixing workflow in one way or another. The most obvious reason is that when you listen to your mix in mono, you lose any specific volume composition between the left and right speaker. Pan pots are a great tool to help create space in a mix, and by rendering them useless in mono, you present yourself with a new challenge. That challenge is to still create a clean sounding mix without the left and right placement. What happens is that every element essentially gets stacked on top of each other, and you have to create the space by the other tools like faders and EQ to separate them. This definitely adds a new layer of difficulty to the mixing process, as if it wasn't hard enough, right? But if you can still create a mix that sounds crisp and clean in mono, then switching back to stereo will definitely be the frosting on the cake and bring your mix to the next level. So, let's get into some of the specifics of when and why you should mix in mono. In mono, every element lies on top of each other, making it more apparent when you make appropriate level, EQ, and even other effect adjustments. It's obvious that the level of each element and where it occupies in the frequency spectrum will help to separate each part, but you will also know if any effect that you are adding is beneficial or if it is just muddying up the mix. Another very good reason to mix in mono is for the translation purpose. Have you ever spent hours and hours finishing a mix on your headphones or studio monitors to then be extremely disappointed when you go to listen to it in your car or on your cell phone? Well, that is because a number of consumer-grade listening mediums actually play back in mono. The idea behind producing a great mix is to have it translate well to any system. So to spend even just a little time mixing in a less detailed circumstance, such as mixing in mono, you will make sure that it sounds closer to the way you envisioned it, regardless of the audio playback system you are using. It can be demotivating when you first switch over to a mono format, especially if you started mixing in stereo and have worked with the left and right placement. The sound of the mix might change completely, but the information and perspective you gain about the sonic character of your mix is invaluable, and if you stick with it until you are happy with how it sounds, I bet you will be pleased to hear the result when you switch back over to stereo. Another very important thing that will become apparent in a mono mix is any phase issues that might be present. When you mix in stereo, having one thing panned even just slightly to the left or right can sound okay, even if it is out of phase with its related track. It will become way more apparent if you switch over to mono, as those tracks will no longer have that physical space. They will be layered on top of each other, and any of these phase issues that naturally affect the frequency content between the tracks will be much more noticeable. This is something that is quite a bit harder to pick up on with wide panned elements. So how do we actually listen in the mono format? How do we change our DAWs over so that we do not have any stereo information? Well, there are a few ways that we can do this, and I will cover them here. So the first way is to change the routing within the DAW you are using. Usually when I set up a mix, I will create a stereo master fader almost without thinking, and have all the tracks in the mix run through that. However, if you also set up a mono master fader, this will allow you to monitor your mix in mono. The downside to this technique is that it takes a long time to reroute all the tracks from one master fader to the other, so if you plan on switching back and forth often, this could significantly slow down your workflow. But the pro to it is that you do not need any extra software. The other option that you have is to find a stereo imager plugin. Something like Waves S1 works great at summing your mix to mono, and it does it with a click of a button. So this kind of thing is great when you want to switch back and forth to check the translation more often. The cons to this is that these plugins usually cost money. For example, Waves 1 goes for around $40, I believe, by itself, but I would say if you plan on switching back and forth between mono and stereo often, this would be probably a good investment. My final piece of advice regarding this topic is that when you are mixing in mono, try turning off one of your studio monitors, because chances are if someone else is listening in a mono format, their system may not have two speakers. For example, I'll often check my mixes from my Mac mini speaker, and this is definitely a one speaker mono format. So by turning off one of your studio monitors, you are just more accurately replicating the mono playback experience. So hopefully I covered the majority of reasons why you should start mixing in mono as part of your workflow, why it can be helpful, and some of the ways you can do it. It definitely won't hurt checking your mix in this format, as it just adds another level of translation to your mix. Let me know if this video shed some light on the subject, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe for more content like this. Any support goes a long way with this channel. And until next time, everyone, thanks for watching.